All right. Well, we hope this works because I've had a little test. It seems to be a lot better than it was. You do have the microphone hiding my handsome body a little bit, but we'll all have to struggle through it. Apparently, this mic, though, however, picks up the slightest little noise on my desk, so if I do that, probably just upset you right now. Anyway, if this does work, I have to thank Alecia Shepard, who is one of the commenters who actually pinged me an email and sent me a whole bunch of little settings I didn't even know existed on my phone and told me how to put the mic where and whatever. So, Alecia, thank you very much. I will be posting you Believe and one of the science fiction books, the first one maybe in the Overlords of Mars series. Thanks for that. And, I have a soft spot for Alecia because I actually watched the series The Good Wife. Kind of got a bit weird at the end or whatever, but it was a show that I used to watch a while back. So, again, thanks. Right, I wanted to just let everybody know that, yesterday Owen opened another one of my letters with a book, and he quickly showed everybody Believe. And, he seemed very confused. So I just want to state officially, the Blood-feud is over. He explained that I can call him an ignorant American. I'm not going to do that, but this might make a lot of noise, so I don't know if it's going to be good to do or not. But anyway, because apparently, I forgot that. I mean, I'm not coming up with this. I saw a documentary about it, but apparently Americans think that the world is like this, and then I don't know if you can even see that. Let me use black. There we go. So apparently I saw a documentary about this. The Americans think that's the USA. Then they know that there is something called UK or maybe London. And then some of them are aware that there is a place called Australia, and with kangaroos. Well, that's a bit of an amoeba, not a kangaroo, but anyway. And that's about the extent of it. So, a few of the very educated Americans know that there is a country called Italy, and that it looks a bit like a boot kicking kind of a football. So the more educated Americans apparently know about Italy, but I can't expect the average American to know what the most serene republic of Venice is. And also because it was usurped by the Italian government, and that vicious scum Garibaldi had a lot to do with that. So anyway, Blood-feud's over, Big Bear. I get it. You're an American. I couldn't possibly expect you to understand that Venetians can travel and live in another city called London. I get it. But I believe Big Bear has been out of the country, of the USA, maybe not. Which reminds me, by the way, Big Bear, if you ever watch this, if you're watching, or if one of you bears has got, I know Coddington Bear has got a good link with him. I've asked this a few times, but I'm not getting a response. I know that maybe it's not in the cards right now, whatever, but I do have some context that might make it possible to book the Albert Hall. Now, if you are going to book a venue like the Albert Hall, it kind of has to all be done, agreed in advance and so on. But I have a good friend of mine who's done it twice with some really odd shows, so it might be possible. I know that Owen is controversial and what have you, but it might be possible to get the Albert Hall. Now, if that's something that interests you, Owen, let me know. Coddington Bear knows how to get a hold of me, so maybe he can pass the message on, and just let me know. If you're not interested, that's cool. If you are interested, I'm not promising anything, but I will definitely look into it if that can help you out. And silver is on the way to you. It's proof against werewolves, so you can shape it into a dagger or just keep it as a coin. Anyway, that's sort of basically it. I just wanted to let you all know that the feud is over, because I was expecting a bit too much. But on that note, the other thing is, Owen said, he would love to do a stream together. Now the thing is, I'm not sure exactly what I'd have to do on my side to be able to like pop into the stream if he did invite me in. But if you let me know, I'll try and figure it out. And if you want to do one, that'd be cool. There's a whole bunch of stuff I'm sure we could talk about that'd be interesting for everybody. Like, we could talk about Christianity, we could talk about the Crusades, we could talk about slight differences that we have in how we view the approach to Christianity. And given my sort of middle of the road, non-committed kind of personality, I'll just say up front that, I will not launch a crusade with you if we disagree against you. Let's just, we'll still be buddies. But if you don't want to discuss the moon, I understand. We can steer away from that. But don't poke the Kurgan, and I won't poke the bear. How's that? Because the moon, I got this big telescope here, man. I'm kind of, if I just had a shitload of money, I would just buy a ticket, come and check the moon out through that telescope. Then you'd know it's the moon. I agree with you that it could be some ancient alien space station. I agree with you that it was, if I had to guess, I would say the likelihood is that the moon was placed there by outside forces. But I do believe it is, a rocky planetoid type thing, and it does spin around the Earth. And the proof of that is, the maths. You can predict all sorts of things, decades, centuries even in advance, concerning the orbit of the moon, the sun, etc., etc. And I've discussed that before. But I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff we could talk about. I mean, I obviously don't have the same experiences that Owen has had, but I know all about, fame and the carrots they dangle in front of you. And I've rejected that. I was offered to do a 13-part TV series for The Face on Mars, but they wanted to cripple the message and change it and, make it stretch it out to make it 13 parts. I mean, I could do probably about 4 hours, maybe 6 hours now on The Face on Mars and the other stuff that's in The Face on Mars, because it's not just about The Face on Mars. You could do a really decent documentary of that. That would be probably an hour or 2 hours. 2 hours would be probably better, but it would be a lot of detail. I don't know that there's that much interest for that level of detail, because most people nowadays don't have the attention span to, finish reading a long text message, never mind, watching an hour or an hour and a half of astronomy that explains in detail why the face is artificial, most likely, and what that's based on, and the studies that have been done, and the work that has been done, and the images, and blah, blah, blah. It would also take quite a lot of advanced computer graphics and people that have an advanced understanding of satellite imaging, as well as quite a lot of research into the NASA lies, although quite a lot of that work was already done by Stan McDaniel over 20 years ago. I was offered a whole bunch of stuff to sell out on The Face on Mars, and I didn't. And not too long after that, for a very brief period of time, apparently I didn't see it myself, but friends of mine told me that my book was briefly on CNN 24 years ago. And not too long after that, the film came out about The Face on Mars with Gary Sinise in it. I think it's called Red Planet, if I remember right. And my brother was like, we went to see it at the cinema, and the whole time he was like, helping me, sue them, you must sue them, the bastards stole your ideas, they stole your book. And I totally relate to what Vox said last night in his stream, which was like, I don't care, I know I got there first. My book was plagiarized by Graham Hancock. When Graham Hancock wrote his book on Mars, and there's proof of this, because at the back of his book, he actually says the name, The Face on Mars, but he doesn't put the imprint of the of the people of the printing house that did it, and Graham Hancock confessed, admitted, and apologized to my face that, you know, he had basically plagiarized chunks of my book, and the main concept of my main theory about how Mars was destroyed was essentially stolen by Graham Hancock. And I've got witnesses. You know, my girlfriend at the time was standing next to me when he said this. So, but again, I don't care. I wasn't going to sue Graham Hancock. I wasn't going to sue the studios. Now, there are things that I would sue. There are things that I have sued and won. When, you know, if people are trying to do something that is well beyond just sort of reworking or rewording some of the stuff that I've done, even though it's absolutely clear that they've done that. In my case, you know, my interest was in the information, getting the information out there, and I did. And more people got the information out there, although of course it was twisted, it was changed, it was sort of Hollywoodized. And now all the millennials basically don't even know anything about the face on Mars, which is astonishing. But it's like Hale-Bopp. Hale-Bopp was a comet that you could see for days with the naked eye in the daylight sky, in the daytime sky. Try and find a picture of Hale-Bopp on the internet. And the going theory at the time that I liked the most was that there was no photographs of it except for one, which was taken by an Italian independent astronomical observatory. And because that photograph essentially seemed to indicate that the nature of Hale-Bopp had an electric quality to it. And there is, you know, what some people call the electric universe, which is this theory that comets and so on essentially attract and suck up matter and gas and particles and so on, and eventually they become bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually they become captured by a star, and they will eventually work their way up to a planet. And there is a further theory that some planets, like gas giants, for example, like Jupiter, will continue to accumulate material until eventually they go critical and they become another star. And there is good evidence of this because most star systems are actually binary star systems. So there's some evidence that this is possibly the case. But, you know, there's a lot of weird, strange things just in our solar system, never mind, you know, out there. So it's interesting stuff if you're interested in astronomy. But, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of topics that I could talk about with Owen if he's interested. Owen, if you're bored one night, you know, if you don't have anything better to do and you want to do a stream together, let me know. Give me a little bit of a heads up because I need to understand what the hell I need to do, because I do these videos on the phone and then I upload them afterwards. So it's not a live thing that I'm doing. Also, to make my life easier, I think that when you hit like 1,000 subscribers, you can live stream just direct off your webcam or something, which is easier. And if that works, I'll try that out maybe. So that might be an easier way to go. I've looked at OBS and all the other stuff, and you know, it's just more stuff. Unless Alecia comes to London and sorts it all out for me, you know. I don't know. Anyway, that was basically it. I've got like some notes on a bunch of things I want to talk about, but we'll probably keep them for a longer video. And we're probably going to hit about 900 subscribers later today. We still have a couple of days to try and hit 1,000. So if you're rooting for my wife and you want her to win, she said I was going to have 1,000 subscribers by the end of August. I didn't think so, and I still don't think so, but you never know. The Bears and the VFM and, you know, the Immortals, which, you know, you guys have got a lot of badges now, a lot of names. Your Bears, your vile, faceless minions, some of your Dread Ilk as well, and some of your Immortals as well. So, amazing. But yeah, I like my Immortals. I like the fact that our the commentary on the videos is generally high quality after a lot of gamma sides. There's one guy I saw, there's somebody who's got the nickname Gamma Side. I'm just wondering whether he took it from, you know, my commenting about what I do with gammas, or whether that was his own thing. Anyway, it's a funny name. I quite liked seeing it. And there's a lot of bears when I do catch Owen live or Vox live, and I say hi, and there's a lot of you that say hi. I don't always get around to saying hi to everybody, but I do see your comments for the most part, unless I'm taking a shower, doing something else in the stream. But and I know there's a lot of Dread Elk now that are saying, oh yeah, that would be just like the Kurgan, to be taking a shower while there's a stream going on, so he's somewhere naked in the background. But, I've got a t-shirt on. Doesn't mean I've got pants on, you'll never know, but there you are. So yeah, and thank you all for making it fun, and thank you for the suggestions. It wasn't, there was a couple of other guys that also sent through some information, but the information that Alecia sent through was the most useful and easiest to use, so keeping it simple. And again, thanks again, Alecia, that's very kind of you. And yeah, let me know if there are any topics that you would like to see me and Owen discuss. I know that the moon shadow is going to be one of them. I know that possibly the flat earth stuff, or not flat earth, or whatever, might be one of them. But there are some of you that are suggesting that Owen is just playing a long game of a giant con about the moon and the earth and all that. And that may be, if it is a giant con, then he's playing that part really well. But I'm not sure that it is a complete con. I don't know. It might be. He might have a long-term plan I haven't thought about, but I don't really see the usefulness of that, and I also don't see the positiveness of it, because let's say it is a long con about the moon not being a rocky planet, then the people that are believing into it are getting somewhat deceived and sort of thrown off the path of truth to a certain extent. And I have similar reservations about stating that Islam is okay and they respect Christians. They don't really. But it gets pretty, you have to sort of understand their ideology a bit better, I suppose. And I know that Owen admits he's not read the Quran. I have, and the Hadiths, I have read parts of those. So, but that's not to say that I'm not on Big Bear's side. I'm 100% on the side of the Big Bear. We can disagree about all sorts of things. The way I see it, it's like I did a video called Reluctant Warlords Rising or something like that. And it was about Bas Rutten as well, because Bas Rutten has become Christian and he wasn't to begin with. So I could relate to Bas Rutten's story quite a lot, actually. But, that's bound to happen when you have all these random Christian warlords scattered around the earth. It's not unlike what the Crusades, one of my topics I occasionally mention. You had all these barons who had their own fiefdoms. Sometimes they were at war with each other. Sometimes they disagreed about things. They had disputes and whatever. But the fact is that when it came to it, they all banded together to go and reclaim Jerusalem, and they kept it for a couple of 100 years. Even though the Orthodox, the Byzantine, didn't help them at all, didn't occupy Jerusalem as they were supposed to, did not defend Christendom, and in fact made pacts with the Saracens and sent troops against the Catholic Crusaders. So, my friend Dave and I, Dave Knox, we're basically currently having an ongoing flame war about this. He's sort of backtracked a little bit about the Orthodox not having betrayed every crusade that went out there, because I've given him, he's now bought God's battalions. He's given me a couple of points on when apparently Catholics massacred some monks in Orthodox monasteries or something. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. But, if you're going to betray us 4 times in a row, 5 times in a row, well, maybe your monks needed a kick in the pants, sort of thing. Anyway, it's all in sort of good fun, but it is becoming more and more apparent to me that Catholicism, true Catholicism, that rejects the Novus Ordo and the Vatican II is going to be the rising tide. If there is going to be a Christendom that survives, it's going to be due to the remnant of Catholics that understand, relearn what Catholicism is all about, and get back to the original stuff. I found something interesting on that note. So for those of you that want to get the Pio Benedictine Code of Canon Law of 1917, there is a company whose name unfortunately I forget right now online that does have the only digitized version I found. However, that digitized version is only online. Now I have copied it painstakingly from the online app that lets you use it onto a Word document just for my own personal reference, so I can refer to it by doing a quick search without having to go online or even be online, because I've got a copy offline. But that's useful for research purposes, if you want to look up a specific thing or whatever. And there's a very interesting thing, because it relates what the new fake canon law of 1983, which is Novus Ordo canon law. So it's absolute nonsense. It's designed to destroy the original, real, true, and still valid Catholic canon law. And it's very interesting the way they changed Canon 188.4 actually refers to Canon 194 in the new canon law. And it absolutely removes the whole point of, Canon 188 states the law itself makes it so that you vacate the office. And in the new version, it's like they say the same words, the law itself, but actually and they only have 3 cases rather than 8. And in 2 of those cases, they say, but even if that happens, you still have to be ratified by a cardinal or a bishop or whatever. Then it's not the law itself, is it? So it completely removes, and one of those is publicly defects from the Catholic faith, which is absolute nonsense. What they're saying is, well, yeah, we're Satanists and we defect from the Catholic faith every day, but you can't actually remove us from office, or you can't even say that we have been removed from office, or you can't say that we're not Catholic, because unless one of us Satanists says we're not. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. It's really quite underhanded. But once you see it, it's obvious. Once you actually take the time to look at it, and it doesn't take long. Go to canon188.com, look at the About page, just read the About page of canon188.com. It's pretty much summarized all there with links to the deeper stuff if you want to go deeper. But yeah, anyway, the point is, I've gone off at a tangent again, but the point is, Vox and I don't agree on everything, Owen and I don't agree on everything, and that's normal. That's absolutely normal, but I'm on Owen's side, I'm on Vox's side. I've supported pretty much everything that Vox has done. And I support Owen unconditionally, pretty much. That doesn't mean that I always agree with it. Like, when Vox started using the term alt-right, I was like, that's a mistake. It's a mistake because the term alt-right was coined by that retard Richard Spencer. And I want nothing to do. I don't want to be in any way associated with that guy. So, I called it alt-west. Some people called it hard-right, whatever. But I would have stayed away from using that term. Now, as you can see, the term has been co-opted. And it was, they were always going to co-opt it. Vox is right about that. His point was like, it doesn't matter what term you use. They'll make it, the ogre. They'll make it the ogre. And he's right. But don't give them any free ammo is my attitude, and then they can try and say what they want. It's like, my argument with the real Catholic Church against the Novus Ordo. There has been not a single refutation, not one. You can't argue the facts. You can only shrill, squeal, and lie and say, no, it has to be ratified by another cleric. No, it doesn't. The law is clear on it. And the law was valid when Vatican II popped out. So you've got no excuse. There is no logical way out of the fact that the Catholic Church cannot, in any way, shape, or form, keep Vatican II in any way, shape, or form. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who are interested and who want the Latin Mass in the USA, Bishop Sanborn, I just saw this because on canon188.com they obviously have been getting some mail from you people or whatever, I don't know, but they've put up a link to Bishop Sanborn's site, which has a list of where you can go to a Latin Mass in the United States, in Europe, and so on. It's got an address of many, many places. So almost, I think, probably most states are represented there. So those of you that are looking for a Latin Mass near you, go to canon188.com. It's canon, CANON, then the number 188.com. I think it's their latest blog post at the moment, a link to Bishop Sanborn's site, which I don't remember what it's called. But, and he's got other resources there, and he's a good guy. Bishop Sanborn has come to London. He is in communion with the guys I got baptized with, so, he totally rejects Vatican II and all the Vatican II fake clerics. He too, like my guys, was kicked out of SSPX because SSPX is just fake. It's a pretend hardcore Catholic. It's pretend hardcore Catholics. They're the Ben Shapiros of the Catholic Church. SSPX are the Ben Shapiros of the Catholic Church. They are the fake right wing of the Catholic Church. They're the Ben Shapiros, the Joe Rogans of the Catholic Church. All right. If there is any specific thing you guys want me to talk about or whatever, drop me a comment and I'll try and address it. There was one guy who actually made kind of an interesting question. Kind of silly, but kind of interesting. And he said, one thing I've always wondered about is, did Jesus have a religion? Well, Jesus is God. So Jesus doesn't have a religion. Jesus is the religion to a certain extent. That would be my answer to that. And, well, I'm going to stop it short because I'm not 100% sure that this microphone works the way it's supposed to yet. And although I've done a couple of tests, really the proof is in the pudding. So let's upload it and you guys can bitch and moan. Just one statement about the sound is fine. But if you keep at it, then I'll ban your ass. You know how it is. I'm actually more forgiving than Vox on that sort of thing because, getting the audio right is sort of my responsibility or my fault. And if I can't sort that out pretty quickly, then it's on me. I think Vox took months to sort this out. But then Vox didn't have Alecia. I have to say that the women immortals are being very useful. There's been quite a few of them that have made some very useful comments. There was Lucy Walker, which is now Tiny Bear, Mary Gallo, that they said something about women that led to my doing a video. Alecia Shepard just sorted out my audio, I think. So yeah, the women immortals are awesome. And of course, Laura B. Dannon was the cause of a couple of a video or two. And Jilly Bear, of course. So yeah, guys, get your shit together. The women are kicking your ass. They're being useful. They're being efficient. They're getting shit done. I mean, I know I'm the Kurgan, so I attract the best in women. But I've also led men into battle, really. So where are the Crusaders? Where are the Immortals? Nameless Bear. Nameless Bear's done a lot. He's doing a lot. Nameless Bear's awesome. So. And there's a couple of guys that I think are going to follow in his footsteps soon. So I'm very proud of you guys and very happy of your subscriptions to my little channel. And I hope it keeps going well. I don't have a lot of time, but I will be uploading slowly all the videos onto BitChute. And eventually, when I get struck out or whatever, I'm going to start taking down the videos, kind of like what Owen does and what Vox do. Not to give YouTube too much of an impact. But then that would mean I have to have a standardized sort of little links thing to put at the bottom of the YouTube comments so that you know where to find the other videos. Because what I try and do with the videos, I try and give them a title that's meaningful and so that they are historically relevant. So video number 1, for example, is always going to be relevant because it describes the situation in the real Catholic Church. So video number 1 is already on BitChute. It's the go-to starting point, But eventually I hope to have all of them up there. I do have them all saved, so they will eventually go up there at some point. And don't forget, those of you who are converting or going to Latin Mass or whatever because of the book Believe, please drop me an email. make the little effort. I just want to continue keeping a head count. And again, thanks again to Owen for the shout out. I mean, I think most of my subscribers, more than half certainly, are probably bears or bear influenced at least. So thank you guys, and again, thanks to Owen. And Owen, don't feel too bad about Dave stealing your shit. I've had journalists steal mine. At least Dave Chappelle is a comedian. Graham Hancock is a journalist. He's not a writer. He's not a human being. He's a journalist. And I had my stuff stolen from him. So, it's okay. You get used to it over time. That's about it, I think. Have a good night.